All right, guys, Mike Gonsalves here, and big time excited today to have with me Tyler Tervooren on this interview today. So, Tyler, thank you so much for being here today, man. I appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you, Tyler. I have a little description here of for you because I don't want to mess this. That's one of like my biggest fears. I'm going to give someone's description and completely hack it. So I actually write it down, and I have it here in front of me. So bear with me here for a second while I just introduce you. And if I miss anything, just jump in and tell me no, that's off. But Tyler, you are the chief riskologist, which I love. We'll get into that, at riskology.co. And you are on a mission to help every person in the world improve their health, work, and adventures by taking smarter risks. Love that, by the way. You're an independent entrepreneur who has founded 8 businesses, 8, not 1, 2, 3, 8 businesses, traveled to 25 countries, and you have run a marathon, big time jealous of this, you have run a marathon on every continent to connect to the world's greatest risk takers and adventurers and learn their secrets. In addition to that, just a little bit more, your research in psychology and human behavior has led to insights for harnessing the power, I love this, of the brain to successfully navigate through high risk and high stress situations. I mean, there's a ton just right there that I get excited about to talk to you about. So thank you, Tyler, again for being here. Did I miss anything? Is all that accurate?
No, I think you got it. The 8 businesses thing, like 6 of those didn't work out, right?
But you tried them. You tried them. Hey, A for effort, man. But you tried them, which is cool. And is that more? Are you still at 25 countries, or have you visited more since?
Oh no, I've been to more since then. I don't remember exactly how many though. Probably not that many more. Probably like 30 or so.
Okay, I don't want to sell you short, man. I want to give you credit where credit's due. But no, I'm super excited to have you here today. And there's a lot I want to talk to you about. When we're looking at Entrepreneur Fitness Academy and entrepreneurship and health and business, I love the merge of those two, how those two literally piggyback off each other. And that's everything that we believe in with what we do at Entrepreneur Fitness Academy. And the biggest thing that I want to ask you out of the gate, having ran, 8 in the different, marathons in all the continents, is, when you do big things like that, you ran a marathon. I've run 2, and I think that's amazing. You've run on every continent. When you do that, man, you start 8 businesses, whether they fail or succeed. And I know you now, I've known you for a while. You've taken on big tasks as far as putting together these big events that I've been to and, breaking records, etc. You've taken on some big tasks, call them what you will. I'm curious, what's your strategy for overcoming fear and stress and anxiety that comes with doing big things, whether it's athletic-wise, running a marathon, or putting on a big event? What's your strategies?
Good question. I don't really have a way to get rid of fear. In fact, I kind of, it's funny. I talk to my wife about this pretty frequently, that I kind of feel like a little bit of a hypocrite in that, a big part of my message is eliminating fear and moving through fear. But really, I feel scared of some of the stuff I do all of the time. Really what it's all about for me is figuring out how to deal with it, right? Like how to accept that fear is there and that it's probably not going to go away, but still, do interesting and fun things anyways. And the number one way, really the only thing that works for me is that I kind of put my brain into 2 I kind of split it in 2 when it comes to doing big things. I like to spend a certain amount of time, dreaming up, what's this thing that I want to do? How big can how big can I go? I like to give myself, you kind of time box these ideas. You get an idea for something you want to do, and you have to sit on it for a while to decide if you're going to commit to it. Cause big things take a lot of effort and a lot of time to complete. Sure. But once I like to give myself time to really dream how big it could be. And then kind of decide what the real life sort of, outcome is going to be. Maybe I'll go in my head, I'll be going to the moon, but then I'll decide, all right, we're going to scale for now, we're going to scale back from that. And we're just going to go halfway to the moon or something. Right. And then once that's done, you kind of have a really clear picture of what the end goal is. And then from there, I kind of let's say, well, the running the marathons is a good example. So, I decided I was going to run a marathon on every continent. pretty much as soon as I decided that, like, I didn't really think about it like that anymore. I really just thought about it in terms of like, what's the next thing I need to do?
Wow.
So like, I didn't have I didn't have a specific end date. I had like an idea of when I would like to complete, that goal by, and I ended up completing it by then. But in reality, I would have been okay with missing that. And I was, every time it was time to think about that, it wasn't like, how do I get to the 7 continents? It was like, what's the next continent? Like, how am I going to get there? Like, what airline is going to take me there? What hotel am I going to stay in? Like, what is the marathon that I'm going to run? Like, what is my training regimen going to be like? Just try to keep it really, really small. Yeah, it's the classic. I think I just spent like 10 minutes explaining, how to do milestones, which everybody understands, right? It's just like,
right. Well,
like creating tiny little milestones.
Well, I love what you said. Well, I love a lot in there, but the fact that I love that such a big task, and running on every continent. And you said, hey, I just went right into action. Hey, what do I need to do? What do I need to book? First of all, I just love that. But what I really took from that last piece that you said right there, Tyler, that I love, and this is how I operate too, because I can get big time overwhelmed, man, when I'm trying to do something, whatever it be, whether it's running marathon, whether it's putting together an entrepreneurial course for people I serve. But I like what you said. You chunk it down because, like, you like, hey, man, what's the next thing to do? What race am I going to run? What flight's going to get me there? Where am I going to stay? I really like that, how you like segment, hey, piece by piece by piece, versus like, holy shit, look at this gigantic thing. I need to, you can't bite the whale one bite, but you take those small bites. I really like that, man. I appreciate that.
Well, even if you could, it doesn't, or even if you try, it doesn't really work, right? Like if I had tried to plan out like, all right, I'm going to go here first and then here and then here, and I had like all 7 lined up, it doesn't, life doesn't work like that. The second you make a plan that big and that detailed for that long of a time, something goes wrong in the first 10 minutes. And then like, the months you spent planning the last 5 years just goes out the window and you have to start over again anyways. So
sure. And that's a whole other valuable lesson in itself, is just, just the expectation, knowing that, hey man, if things can go wrong, they're going to go wrong. I think there's actually even a law that says that wherever things can
Murphy's.
go wrong. Yeah, exactly. Right. So with that said, that's a valuable lesson right there. I appreciate you sharing that with us. On that, I want to kind of piggyback off that, but not really. I'm assuming as you're doing big things, right? We're going to have our down. Things are going to not go our way. That's just the way it is. And we'll find ourselves. I know myself. I find myself sometimes when I'm training for something or creating something, I get myself into a funk. We all do. We get into this funk and whatever. Sometimes it's hard to get out of. I'm curious for you, what's your strategy when you find yourself, whether it's a writing funk, training funks, whatever funk? What's your strategy? Is there a go-to that you have to get yourself out of it? And if there is, what is it?
Yeah, it's funny. My answer fits into this, into your little academy really perfectly, because at the end of the day, like when I have a problem in business, I usually sort it out with exercise. However, when I have a problem with exercise, I usually can't solve it with business. So when I'm in a funk, either in my life or, like I'm having a slow day, or, just in general, exercise really, really is my kind of like go-to head clearing, recentering kind of practice. It's basically, it's like my therapy, I guess, right? Like it's kind of like my little personal therapy, specifically running. I do all kinds of exercise, but running specifically gets my head in a space where like I can sort out problems and, talk out things in my head that get crowded out by other thoughts when I'm not running. And then that usually helps me recenter myself and get going again.
So running's your thing. Like if you're in a funk, whether it's a writer's block, whether it's whatever, you're like, dude, I'm just going to lace up. I'm just going to lace up and I'm going to go for a run. That's your go-to. That's what you do. Yeah.
Well, I usually run in the mornings. And if for some reason I either don't run in the morning, or if I'm not going to run that day anyways, or if I do run and I still get messed up, I'll go for a walk.
Got it.
And like a walk is not like it's not like very, it's not super physical exercise,
Sure.
But it just, I don't know, something about changing my physical space, my environment for even just a short period of time. It's like if I sit in my office all day, the same small problem can just plague me all day long. But if I just like let myself out of the room for a little while and take my dogs around the block or something.
I love that, and I want to jump all over that, man, because first of all, I love that, and I'm with you. I'm the same way. Like movement just affects me. It's not just it's not
Yeah,
just
that's a good way to describe it.
yeah, but it's
Ooh.
not just our opinion. It's actually it's based in science, like scientifically, physiologically. When we move ourselves, like we actually there's hormonal changes that happen in our body and our mind. And you know what's funny, Tyler, is there's a study out of Boston, like I think in like 1992 they did it, that showed, and you've probably seen it, it's like images of two brains, one after a 15-minute walk and one at rest. And like the one
Yeah.
that just after a 15-minute walk, the brain is lit up like a Christmas tree, like with endorphins and all these good hormones that get you fired up. Like after a 15-minute walk. So I'm saying that just because good for you and me and whoever else goes for a run when they just need to get out there and change their physiology. But even like a walk, man, just going out around your block, half an hour, 15 minutes, it has that ability to do that. So I love that you do that. I do that as well, and it's true. Movement does have that effect on us. So happy to hear that. That's the same for you as well, man.
Yeah, it's the only thing I can rely on. There's lots of things I try, but that's the only thing I know will work basically every time.
Sure. And again, I keep going back to it, not to beat a dead horse, but it's like, oh, I think this will work. No, it's like, listen, it's based in science. Like scientifically, it says it works. So you don't have to take mine and Tyler's word for it. Science shows us that. But anyways, you know what I want to find out from you is, you've done some good stuff, man. You've done some big things, and whether it's the marathons you've run and the these events you've put on and these businesses you've started. When it comes to that, right? Like what we're all different. Like what motivates you? Like what keeps you going? Because some of these things are big, and I'm sure there's plenty of times you're like, dude, do I even keep going? Like what motivates you? I don't want to sound cliche-ish here, but what's your why, or whys plural, if you will, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of the things, or a lot of the challenges I've taken on. I've gotten that question before, and over the years I've developed these answers that sound good. The answers that people want to hear. Like there's like some deeper purpose behind it, and like I ran a marathon in every continent to remember my grandfather or something, or but the I never said that because it's not true. But stuff like that, because it just seems like people want like a really deep reason behind everything. But my reality is that my why is oftentimes more along the lines of why not. Like I just kind of get attached to ideas over time, and if there's something that I want to do, I usually spend a lot of time trying to force it out of my head, and like just move on, because there's so much to do on a day-to-day basis. Running the business, keeping up with things at home, making sure I'm maintaining my relationship with my wife and my friends and all this stuff. Like, so I actually, most of the stuff I've done, I've tried to not do for for a long time, but eventually it just bothers me so much that I can't not do it. So that's usually it's usually more like a why not.
Yeah.
And once I've exhausted all of my once I've exhausted all of the realistic why nots, I usually end up just doing it.
So it's almost like it's almost like you try, like, hey, I'm just gonna try to get rid of this thing. When it keeps pushing back, like, no, Tyler, you got to do this, man. That's like my why is like that. I cannot. I've tried not to do it, but it keeps coming at me, so I must do it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically. I mean, and I think it also goes along with it. I'm just the type of person who I get a lot of satisfaction out of challenging myself. So I like seeing how hard I can push myself. There's an enjoyment that I get when I when I break through a barrier or do something I didn't think that I could do or that I wasn't sure I could do.
Sure.
Or even if I don't succeed, like there's a lot of satisfaction in knowing that I like gave it my all in trying. So I'm just the type of person who's always like looking for something to like push myself a little bit further.
Yeah.
So that drives me a lot as well.
I love that. There's a lot there that I love. I could talk about everything you said there for an hour, but I love that last piece you just said where you said, hey, listen, man, whatever failure or success is to you, whether you went out to run a marathon in a certain amount of time and you was over that by 30 minutes, like what you just said, yeah, but I was out there. I was giving it my all. I was pushing. Like that is cool, man. And I appreciate you saying that because like just like you said, it's like I'm out there and I'm giving it my all. And that to me is satisfying. It's fulfilling. It's call it what you will, but I love that, and I love what you also said. Where you said, "Why, why not? Like, why would I do this? Well, why wouldn't I?" It almost makes me think of like the whole idea whether it comes to business or running a marathon, losing weight, whatever. It's like, well, why me? Well, why not me? Right? Like you could ask the same question. So I love that question. Like, why not? Why wouldn't I do this? Yeah, and why not me? So I love that, man. Thanks for sharing that. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
of course. Well, I think it's a lot. Just to expand on that for a second,
Yeah.
because I think this is part of my philosophy is that like it's easier. It's really easy to talk yourself out of good ideas, and in a lot of times you probably should talk yourself out of a lot of ideas that you have. Like most of the ideas you have on a day-to-day basis, you shouldn't do. Right? Like, if you want to be successful at something big, but asking why not, it just kind of flips the script. Like he said, like rather than coming up with endless reasons for why you should do something, I prefer to just assume that I should do everything and then convince myself not to, rather than sit with no ambition and then try to talk myself into doing something. I try to do it the other way. Try to do it the other way around. Be open to everything, but then talk myself out of the ones that don't work. I don't know.
I
It's just
love
a
that.
strange little sort of flip on how I think about things.
That's it. That's an interesting. Hey, I'm a big fan of that philosophy, and actually, I never really looked at it that way. And actually, you're making me think now. I won't think right now on camera, but when we leave this interview, I'm gonna actually go back and think about if that's how I operate. I wonder if those watching this right now, I wonder, give some thought to that. Like, how do you operate? Do you look at something and think, no, I'm not gonna do that, and try to convince yourself to do it? Tyler is like you're saying, no. I look at something like, yes, that's what I'm gonna do, and let me then talk myself out of not doing it. That's pretty wild, man. That's an interesting. Wow, talk about that made me think right there, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. It just helps me. It just helps me picture. I think, anyways. I think it helps me picture, bigger goals, things that I wouldn't ponder or consider for myself normally.
Yeah, no. I love that. I'm very intrigued by that. I never actually gave that looked at it that way. So for
Yeah.
myself and for those listening, that's a great question. How do we view that going forward? Let's give ourselves some thought there. I know I'm definitely going to do that after this interview. I'm going to sit down for like half an hour and really think about everything I've done and like how did I look at that? But thanks for that, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Give it a shot.
On that, hey, I want to ask you this on that because this is kind of when it comes to when it comes to business, health, both of those, healthy mind, healthy body, healthy business. What do you think is more important? This is kind of a trick question because I think they're both important, but I want to know what you think. What's more important, how and what you think, or how you do things and what you do? Like it's almost like the chicken or the egg. Like, what do you think is more important? Maybe one comes before the other, maybe it doesn't. What's more important, how and what you think, or how you do things and what you do?
Yeah. I don't know.
I know. It's like I'm on the fence of those two as myself.
The way that I think, I'm a cerebral kind of person. Like I spend a lot of time in my head having discussions with myself. I spend a lot of time thinking. I don't mind that about myself, but I also like it better when I get out of my head and do things. I think that the thinking helps inform the doing, and the doing helps inform the thinking. It's like kind of, it's a feedback loop.
Right.
But I really like the way that, who was it? It was AJ Jacobs at the World Domination Summit a couple of years ago.
Yes.
He had a line in his talk that I can't even remember what his talk was even all about, but he had one line that really resonated with me, and it was something like, "It is much easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than it is to think your way into a new way of acting." And I thought that's really true. And when I look at things that I've succeeded at and things that I've failed at in the past, I usually succeeded at things that I just started doing and thought about them later, versus trying to think through them and then get myself started. Like it's better to just take action. So it's not like one is better than the other, but I think if you're trying to start something, that's kind of like that line from AJ is kind of like how I think of things now when I'm trying to get myself started on something.
I love that line. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to repeat it just one more time. I just want everyone to hear it. Just what's that line one more time?
Yeah, it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than it is to think your way into a new way of acting.
Love that. Guys, whoever's listening to this, listen to that and listen to that like 10 times. Acting your way versus thinking your way. One is acting, one is thinking. Such a
Yeah.
big difference. And actually, I have this conversation with myself all the time, Tyler, and even with those I work with. It's always like, because the whole idea is like, whatever you ought to do. And again, in my world, it's fitness and entrepreneurship. But the whole idea is like, well, man, if I only had some more motivation, then I'd start doing things. And I always say, well, listen, start doing things and you will get more motivation. It's almost like looking at it through the opposite end of the telescope. Like the more, do stuff that will give you the motivation, not the other way around. Because if we're waiting for motivation to come along, we might be waiting forever. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Well,
love that.
I have I've noticed lately that I don't know, something with when the seasons change. I noticed that like I go through phases where I'll be working and then for no reason at all, I'll just kind of be tired. Like I'll get that like 2 o'clock afternoon slump, even though I've eaten really well, I've exercised that morning. For some reason, it's 2 p.m. and I'm tired. And when I think about being tired and all of the things I should do, like to not be tired, I usually just keep sitting here and I end up tired and I don't get anything done for the rest of the day. And I'm just kind of like, oh, that was a wasted afternoon. But the times that I notice that I'm tired and just get up and get out of the house and go for like a 15-minute walk and come back, man, my day goes completely differently.
Holy smokes! Listen to what we just. First of all, by the way, I'm the same way. Even if I just do burpees here in the house, I know it sounds crazy, but like I have to just get up, move. Like
Yeah,
we keep going back
movement.
to that movement, right?
Yep.
But that's so true. But I love what you just said. It's like, yeah, we can accept it. Like, oh man, why am I in this? Well, why instead of just sitting there and thinking about it, like do something. Like you said, you go for a walk, I do burpees, but yeah, that movement. I forgot who says it. I think it's Tony Robbins who says like, motion affects emotion. How and what we do,
Yeah,
what we
right.
do affects, how physiology affects your psychology, or psychology, one or the other. I'm
Yeah.
all over the place with that. I love that, guys. If just listening to this, if you're in that slump, like, this is what happens to me, Tyler. If I'm on the sofa and I know I have to go for a run, I'm like, dude, I really don't want to go. I wish I was more. That's when I'm like, get up. I go into the kitchen, slam a glass of water, look at, like, I just stop moving around. Before you know it, it's like, it's not that bad, and I end up going. But if I sat there, there's no way,
Yep.
no way I get that run done. So I love that. It goes back to like movement, guys. Move. If you're like not feeling it, get that movement going.
Yep.
There was one more thing I wanted to mention. It'll come back to me. Hey, I want to jump into entrepreneurship a little bit here. What's
Sure.
one thing, what's one thing, Tyler? You've been at this for a while now. I know you've been at this for a while with 8 businesses and what you got going on now. What is one thing you wish, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you wish you would have known? Like, man, why didn't I know that year 1 through 2 or 3 that I know now? I know you're constantly learning, but what's one thing you wish you would have known out of the gate, maybe the first year or two, when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So I think the number I can think of like 10 things, but here's just 4 of them.
Yeah, right.
No, I think the one thing I wish I'd known was that it pretty much always takes longer than you want it to. And number 2, you can be, and I think this is really it. I think it is that you can be extremely positive and extremely action oriented, but if you don't apply those, like if you're applying those to an unrealistic, endeavor, you can still fail, right? Like, so I really don't like when I hear like the entrepreneurial advice that's like, if you're excited about it, you should just go do it. Like, like put on your positive thinking cap and and just get to work. And it's like, people, you can be really happy and really motivated and work really hard and still have a total failure of a business if you don't put in the work to like really understand the fundamentals of what makes a successful business. In the beginning, it's kind of, I don't know, half of one, 6 dozen, whatever that saying is,
Right,
6 of
right.
one, half dozen of another. But you get out especially when you're starting, you're really like, you might not know anything about business, but you're just full of like passion. And so you just go out and you give it your best. And, that's great, but you do eventually have to learn like the fundamentals of business. You got to understand, what product market fit means and whether or not you found it. And if you haven't found it, what you need to do to find it. You got to understand, how to, you have to really deeply understand how to build an audience and how to talk to them. How to have that relationship with your customers. You got to know, the boring stuff like finance and accounting. It's like stuff that is, or if you don't know it, you got to be able to get to a point where you can hire someone who does know it really, really well and can explain it to you so that you can make good decisions. Because passion, I don't know. I think maybe like one of my theories is, like passion without knowledge. Passion is great, but passion without knowledge can just send you, like bonkers all over the place and never actually getting anywhere.
Right. So you mean to tell me you mean to tell me it takes longer than 30 days? You can't get this all figured out in 30 days? I'm being sarcastic because there's a lot out there these days that says you can figure it out in 30 days.
Change your business in 30 days, start a new habit in 30 days, build 30 pounds of muscles in 10 days.
Six pack in like 2 minutes a day. But I love that, Tyler, and I want to really emphasize that. And guys, this is the first time actually I've chatted with Tyler before. This is the first time him and I have actually had this kind of conversation right there. And I love hearing that, Tyler, because we share the same philosophy in other areas, and this is another one we share the same philosophy. I'm with you. I'm maybe call me old school, but I'm a train of thought. I come from the train of thought that you got to put in the time, energy, and effort. You got to put in your time. You got to learn, and it takes time. And maybe I'm a student of Jim Rohn who says, hey, you know what? Put in not saying it has to take this long. Put in 3 years. Put in 5 years. Put in 7. Then 7 years, not days, months, years. And then maybe you're at this point where like, man, now I'm getting it and I'm doing my thing. So put in the time, energy, and effort necessary to do what you want to do, whether it's run that race, whether it's get that body you want, lose the weight, start the business. I'm 100% with you, Tyler. And I'll even say one more thing here. It's interesting. I don't know if you knew this, but when you look at, I know from the Ironman, Kona Ironman, like the number one Ironman in the world, it happens in Kona, right? All the top Ironman go there to compete. The ones that always crush it, it's not the 22-year-old. It's not, you think it'd be the younger ones. It's actually the older ones who have been at it for a while. Like they're older. Like wait a minute, you're double the age of this guy and you just crushed him? I think because with age comes experience, comes with knowing what to do, what not to do. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I didn't explain myself very eloquently. So like maybe like an exercise example is a great one, since you coach on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Is you can be filled with motivation to lose weight, but if you don't actually know how to lose weight, you could be working out 7 days a week and eating it all back every single day, or you could be eating crazy healthy, but eating few calories, but not getting the right nutrition, that's going to stall your body. Like I learned that, just in the last 6 months, I've made a big sort of, physiological transformation. I've gained a lot of muscle and leaned down a lot. And I've been trying to do that for years. But I've been failing because I kind of took the approach that like, well, exercise is exercise and I'm a runner. So I kept running and running. I've been running marathons, like for a decade almost. And at the end of all that, lots and lots of training, like thousands and thousands of miles. At the end of the day, I was still skinny fat, like I was thin, but I was just kind of like, it wasn't much to look at. And so finally I was like, all right, I need to sit down. I need to I need to put in the time and the hours to actually learn what's going to really work. And what it came down to is like, all right, I have to learn how to watch my calories. I have to learn how to lift, heavy weights, like stuff that like I was aware of, but like thought like maybe it could work, but I never really put in the time and the effort to think about it, to think it through and build a strategy around it. And as soon as I did, things changed, just not overnight, like
sure.
Nothing changes overnight, but 6 months versus the last 7 years, right? Like I've seen more progress on my body anyways in the last 6 months than I have in the last 7 years.
Wow.
That's, and that I think that's saying something. I think you can apply that to business as well, right? Like you get started on a business and you want to just, you start because you're passionate about this thing that you're doing. And so you do that thing and you're like, you're kind of in the back of your mind, like, yeah, I should probably learn how to make sure that there's still money in the bank account at the end of the month, or yeah, I should probably learn how to respond to emails properly or whatever, whatever it is,
Right.
that makes you an actual, knowledgeable professional business person.
Right.
You the sooner you learn those things and either deal with them yourself or figure out how to deal with them with other people, like the faster you're going to get way better results. Like you can't actually ignore the stuff that makes real businesses.
Absolutely. You can apply that across the board. I love that, Tal. Like knowledge, you went and got the knowledge, which I think we all need to do. It's a must if you're going to excel at anything. But then I don't want to. I'm just going to use this word, applied knowledge. Like, right, you have passion, applied passion, knowledge, applied knowledge, and I think that's what you have done, and I think that's what we all must do if we're going to be successful in any area. You can be if you're all over the place, you're not going to get too far. But if you have the knowledge and you apply it, deliberately apply it, like you have done, your body doesn't lie. What you see is you're obviously doing something right because it's telling you like, hey, you've done something right here. You know what you must do, but you've also applied it because body doesn't lie, right? And you've done that.
Yeah.
So congrats to you, man. Huge congrats
Thanks.
to you. Yeah, yeah.
That's a better explanation of it is applied knowledge. It's like nobody like everybody knows how to lose weight, but there's a million ways you can make your brain tell you, yeah, but I don't want to do that, so I'm going to try to figure out how to justify not doing it.
Right.
Right. So, and I'm going to try a different way, and that's what I did for 7 years, thinking I was going to lose weight and get fit running.
Right. Right.
Which I wasn't in bad shape, but compared to where I'm at now, it's just like there's no comparison.
Yeah. No one's one thing, doing's another. We both know that.
Yeah.
Speaking of knowing, because you kind of tapped into, I just want to get into this just real quickly. Because obviously this plays a huge part of it. How and what we think will dictate what we do, and therefore dictates our results. I just want to kind of just keep it simple, like from a habit standpoint. What are, if you don't mind sharing with us, whether it's physical or whether it's mental habits, journal, gratitude, whatever. Is there a couple of habits that you do daily that, like, dude, this has to happen every day. This is part of my routine. Do you have one or a couple you can share with us? What are those, if there are?
Yeah. I have a couple that I really, really regiment.
Yeah.
And then others that I are kind of waiting in the wings for when I need them, and I'll do that. Like when I realize I need them, I'll do them.
Which are regimented ones? Yeah. What are those?
The regimented ones are exercise. Like I never have as good a day. Like if I don't make the time for exercise, I don't have as good a day. Just period. End of story. There's really no other way to say it. So I make time for exercise 5 days a week.
Awesome. That happens. That's religiously, yeah.
That happens pretty religiously. Yeah, I still slip up. I'm not 100% perfect.
We all do.
I get sick. I get hurt. I get lazy.
We all do, but for the most part.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But it's gotten to the point now where it's an ingrained enough habit where if I miss a day, like I'm feeling really antsy about it, and I'm back to it the next day.
Yeah.
That's kind of when you've really instilled a habit. Is like when you miss it and you're like, oh, something feels weird, something feels off. I don't like this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exercise. Lately, I've gotten better about really organizing my day. I used to be stressed out a lot because I would just make a list of everything I wanted to get done, and it would all just go on my today list, and I would try to get through as much of it as possible, and I would never feel satisfied because I was, at the end of the day, like there's no way I was ever getting all of that done. So I've gotten better about organizing, planning my day from the first part of the morning. I really planning out how I'm going to spend my day. And I don't always stick to it perfectly, but when I spend that time in the morning, I notice that by the end of the day, I've gotten a lot more done, and I feel a lot better about what I've gotten done.
Yep, planning. Yep.
Another thing that has helped me a lot, and this is going to sound kind of funny, but in the last year or so, I've noticed that I've dealt with a lot of frustrations, a lot of people frustrations, things not going the way I wanted them to, people not doing the things that I wanted them to, or responding in the ways that I wanted them to. And one thing I've done, I actually learned this from a psychologist, and it's helped me tremendously, is I try to spend 2 to 3 minutes a day. I used to set a timer for 5 minutes. Now I just do it till I feel like I'm done. I just sit in silence and I send well wishes. So I just think of people in my life and I wish the best for them. So
Wow.
and I do this especially with people that I'm frustrated with. So if I'm having like an argument with somebody, or if I'm feeling angry or upset or frustrated with another person, like I just sit and think of them for a minute, and I try to think of like I try to wish upon them all the things that they would want for their life. And it's like a really funny, strange sort of thing to do. And even when you're in the middle of it, it feels kind of weird to be doing it, but it helps. It helps me a lot.
That's phenomenal. That is. I don't. I've heard something in the past. Someone say something along those lines, like, "Hey, I wish someone across from you. Maybe it's not someone you're having frustration with, but like someone you're about to meet and talk to. Like, I really love this person, and like that just changes everything." But what you're saying, Tyler, why I love that so much is you're actually taking a frustrating situation and you're turning it on its head with like almost like gratitude, saying, "You know what? I'm going to wish this person well wishes." And let me tell you why I love that for so many reasons. One is you're taking a bad, like I don't want to even say bad. You're taking an emotion that's like maybe not a good one, anger, whatever, frustration, and you're turning it around into well wishes, gratitude, whatever it may be. It's like you're taking a negative and you're turning it into a positive. But this is the really reason why I love that, Tyler, because how hard is that? Not like the struggle, like you even said it, like sometimes it's tough to do. But sometimes it's like I don't have time to like write something or get a book or like you can do that anywhere. You said, "Hey, I'll do it for a minute. I'll do it for two." You can be
Yeah, you can do it when
anywhere,
you're driving in your car. You can do
driving,
it sitting at your
plane,
desk. You can do it, yeah,
bathroom, whatever. Right? Like,
bathroom. Yeah.
like I just say that because sometimes, like, well, I don't have time to do these things, these little things that are gonna make my day better. What I would love if anyone's listening to this and you can come up with a reason why, an excuse why that is not possible anytime, any place, anywhere. I'd love to hear it because that's phenomenal, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm gonna have to try that. I think I've heard something along those lines. I've never tried it myself, but I'm gonna have to try that and tell you what I think about that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole not having time thing. I've struggled with that as well. Like like in our line of work, you come across and you study and check out like millions of like little things, and you're like, damn, if I was doing every single one of these things every day, that's all I would be doing. I have no time to talk to anybody else about it, and I'd be like annoyed with all the crap I'm doing. Um, but really, it's all about finding a couple things I think that work for you. And when it comes to building, like when we're talking about habits specifically, when it comes to building new habits, like I've noticed in my life, it's way easier. Like it's really hard to build a habit in a way where you're trying to just add something new to your life. Um, it's way easier to adjust that, and it's way easier to build a habit when you just take what you're already doing and do it better. So if you build a habit out of taking something you're already doing, like you're already investing the time or the resources or the energy or whatever to do this thing, like improving upon it versus like trying to do something brand new outside of everything that you're used to. It's just way easier to like implement something new into a system you already have than it is to build a whole new system.
It almost sounds like when they say, "Hey, you know what? Just go all in on your strengths and don't try to make things that you're not good at. Don't spend time on those. Like, what are you good at?" It's almost like what you're saying. Hey, what are you doing, and do that even better.
Yeah.
Versus like trying to bring on something that like that's not even on your radar and bring in something completely new. I like that a lot, man. That's
Yeah.
that's solid advice. Tyler, I got just a couple more questions for you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just a fun one here. I'm gonna take the obvious ones away from you. From a gratitude standpoint, aside from being alive and your health, especially now your new health, man. Aside from those two, the given, what are you most grateful for, like today, just lately? What are you most grateful for?
Right now, my relationships. I feel like um, trying to think of a way to describe it. I've never had to describe it before, so now I'm struggling to come. Yeah, I don't know. I feel really loved by the people around me right now. I feel really loved and supported. Like particularly my wife. Like she is. Yeah, she's like the most supportive, like cheerleading person on earth. Having her in my corner like has changed my life and my my business and all of that just tremendously. I look at things much differently and in a better way with her around, and then just all of my friends and business contacts, people that it just seems like and maybe I'm just noticing this because lately, but it just seems like lately, like all of the relationships I've been building for so long have really just kind of out of nowhere come to support me in different and random ways recently. And I'm just kind of noticing them all come together right now. It's been really awesome.
Wow, that is, I mean, community, who we surround ourselves with is obviously everything. And I'm just going to throw this out at you, Tyler. Like, you're like, I don't know. It just seems like lately. And hey, who's to say? All of a sudden, recently, you said you've been doing this different practice and well wishes. All I'm saying is, it's funny. All of a sudden, you start doing these gracious things, and all of a sudden, things. I'm not saying that's why, but it's something to think about there. So
I'm not woo-woo enough to buy into it, but if that's what's happening, I won't argue with it.
I'm just throwing that out there, man. One more question, man. And actually, I should have asked you this way at the very beginning, but I just thought of it. I thought of it now. And this is the question I thought about earlier that I wanted to ask you. Is like, you consider yourself, and tell me if I'm wrong here. You consider yourself, hey, I'm a self-proclaimed, I'm an introvert. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, hardcore,
right?
Yeah.
Yep. I want to know, do you think, and again, this could probably be an hour conversation, but just at a high level, Tyler, like, do you think, first of all, introverts, extroverts, we're all awesome. Everyone's awesome. There's one's not better than the other. We know this stuff, but from an introvert perspective, if you're like, hey, you're trying to get out there and do more and get out of your shell, if you will, do you find exercise helps that? Does it not? Does it not? What's your thought on exercise? And if you're an introvert, does that help you? Does it not? Or it's indifferent?
I think it helps.
Yeah.
I think it helps in the sense that it gives you, like, from an energy standpoint, right? Like one of the number one things that, the number one thing that holds introverts back from being really social is that it requires a lot of energy, right? So like that's one of the major differences, or basically the major difference between hardcore extroverts and hardcore introverts. Extroverts, the more that they socialize and the more that they're around other people, the more energy they get. Like, it gives them energy. It's like a power up.
Right.
But the more socializing and the more around people an introvert is, the more energy it takes from them. So it requires a significant amount of energy investment for an introvert to like get out and be really social. And even when we really want to, we sometimes simply just do not have the energy to do it. But I would say that, like, there are things that you can do to increase the amount of energy you have so that you can do more socializing and still have energy left for yourself. And I think that exercise, for sure, and that's just a general thing. It applies to introverts in this way, but anybody who does more who does more exercise is going to essentially have more energy in their life. And if you have more energy in your life, then you have more to give. And as an introvert, if you have more energy to give, then you're more motivated to go out and socialize because you know that you'll still have some left for yourself when you're done.
No, that's good to hear, especially from you, who says, hey, no, this is who I am, this is how I roll. And even just what you said, Tyler, it's like, I don't want to say, for lack of better words, going out, it does deplete you of energy when you're around others. And actually, hopefully, exercise can help you. It still deplete you, but what I'm thinking, tell me if I'm wrong, it'll still be a depletion process, but maybe not as quickly. Maybe you can just sustain, go the distance a little longer, stay out a little bit.
Yeah, you got more endurance. More endurance. There's more in the tank. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know. I was like, I'm gonna ask Tyler because that's his world. He's a runner. So do those two is there a link? So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Hey man, this has been, I was so excited for this just because, like I said, we've had conversations, but I was looking forward to having this specific conversation, the talks we just had. And I really can't thank you enough for your time, man. I want people to know, like, if they want to find out more about Tyler Tervooren, right?
It's all good. It's all good.
Tyler Tervooren, and Riskology, where can they go? What's the best way for them to find out more about you, man?
Yeah, I think you said it. Riskology.co. That's where you can find me on the internet. That's where I invest basically all of my energy these days. So
okay, Riskology.co, guys, not com, not com.co. So Riskology.co. Awesome.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Yeah, Tyler, thanks again, man, so much for this, taking the time to do this to do this interview. I'm sure I've gotten massive value. I think I'm more selfish. I almost do these as much for me as I do to serve those I serve, but thank you so much for this time, man. It means a lot, and I'm super grateful.
Well, thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, man. We'll see you soon, all right?
All right. Take care.
Cheers.